Welcome to lesson 1 of creating this is lesson 1, how to code a website for beginners, creating HTML and CSS files. These are the two main types of files that you would need to be able to create a website. And the other ones are Java and PHP, but we won't be covering those at the moment. Okay, so the first part are these different parts of a website. You got the header, the section, the side, and footer. Those are actually all parts that go underneath the body section. And as you can see, you've got the HTML, which is actually the document. You also have the head tag, which isn't actually seen on the screen, except for the title tag, which is seen up here. The head tag is where you put codes for like affiliate links or Facebook plugins or not Facebook plugins, Facebook meta tags and then stuff like that. Cool. So to create a basic HTML file, you're going to first copy this blue code here. Control C, copy. You're going to open a text editor and you're going to paste it. You're then going to save it, Control S, as home.html. You need to save it as home.html or index.html. Either one of those two names will automatically be grabbed as the home page for when you upload it online. I'll just go with home because it looks better. So save that. Now a text editor, a nice text editor, will color code it, and that makes things a lot easier because if you, for instance, get rid of that, yeah, I didn't do it, and you see how it changes the color to tell you if there's something missing. You can do this one, probably a better example. Yeah, so you're missing a closing quotation mark. Right, now to make this easier to navigate when you're looking for things, go ahead and indent it like so. Okay, so I've grouped everything in the relative sections. So this goes in the head, that's the tab bar title. These are just IDs, and they're like header, section, side, footer, and that's just the different ones that you will see pop up. Now, it won't be automatically in this layout, that will be done in the CSS file. But at the moment, we've got that. So we're going to save this. I'm going to go into the folder it's been saved in, there it is, and right click, open with a browser. As you see, it's blank except this tab bar title. If we go into here and we change this to say Lifelong Vagabonds, because that's my site, say that. If you refresh this, you'll see that it's changed. Now if you add text into all of these, so say I'm just header, section, side, footer. So that's just labeled everything so you can see what it is, and there they pop up. Header, section, side, footer. Now, the next part in this lesson will be creating a CSS file. So we're going to, oops, there's the mouse. We're going to copy this red code, Control C. We're going to open a new file in our text editor, paste it, and save it as site.css. You can change this to anything you want. You can change it to file or whatnot, but site is the usual name for that. So to make this look nicer, we're just going to indent it. Okay, Now, as this says, everything between the stars and slashes, aka everything in blue, is a CSS comment and will not be displayed in the browser. So you won't see any of this in the browser anyways, until you connect it to the home HTML file. But you got the width, and that's at 100%, so the padding is at 0. You really want to put that in px. Margin, color, background color, this is the text color, this is the font size, and this is where the text is aligned, so you get center, left, or right. So we're going to save this, go back into your browser, refresh it, you see that nothing has changed. To get the CSS file to link into your HTML file, you will need to copy this blue text into your home tag. I mean, not your home tag, your head tag. So home, Control V. Cool. If you've not saved this as site CSS, if you saved it instead as whatever.css, you would then have to change this to whatever.css. So that just has to match whatever you've called that file. And it is a style sheet and the type is text CSS. So then go ahead and save that. Go back to your file and change it. And as you can see, the background color is now blue and the color of the font is now yellow, like we set in the CSS file. If you want to change things, you'll just go back into your site, and as this says, this is the width of the header across the page. So if I put that at 80%, and then saved it, you will see that when you refresh your browser, with 80%, color blue. Right, so you see what happened is I accidentally deleted the semicolon, which is needed to end a command. So we'll refresh that, and now there's the blue background that I wanted, and the header and it's now 80%. So we go into the padding, which is the layer of space in between the inside of the area. So if I change that to 20 pixels, you see that has changed. The margin is pretty much the same as the padding, but for the outside of the box. So it would be that bit that changes. So we'll change that to 10%, save it, refresh the browser, and you'll see that it's changed like that. Now if you resize the browser, you'll see that that stays as a 10% for the window size. So we'll change that back to 0, just for now. Okay, now the background color is obviously the blue bit, and we can change it to red, and we can change the font color to white. And watch as those change. And the font size is pretty explanatory. If you put 80, it gets bigger, and you put 12, and it gets smaller. I would suggest using at least a 16 font size for your regular text, because it makes it easier to read on a computer. But for headers, and obviously that would go as would be bigger, but we'll get to that later. So this is just the font size for the regular words. So I'm going to change that back to 40 because my eyes are a bit bad. Now, the text align can be center, left, or right. If you put it onto the left, the text will go to the left. If you put it onto the right, the text will go to the right. Now, as you can see, it doesn't go all the way over to the edge. That's because our padding is at 20px. So if you change that back to 0 and saved it, refreshed, and there it is, the edge. Right, so that is your CSS file. And then there is your HTML file, and you can see how this hooks it up to your site. And you can play with however much text you want to put in there. Go ahead. Cool. So to get the section aside and footer to be customized in CSS, all we're going to do is copy the above text. I would suggest instead of actually copying it, to write it out or type it out, so you know, you get a better understanding of what everything does. So if you wrote section, the pound symbol is important, or hashtag symbol as it's called in different places, and then the bracket, and you always need to close the bracket at the end. So you got your section, and that is connecting to this id section. If this was called hot dog, then you would change this to hot dog. The hashtag is always there, and this id is always there. We'll change this back to section. Oops. And that back to section. So save it. Not because I really did anything, but because it's a good habit to get into. So we're going to go through all this again, and width, we're going to put it at 50%. Padding, we're going to put it at 0 pixels. Margin will be 0%. And don't forget this very important semicolon, because as you saw earlier, without it there, it messes up your code. So background color, you do need a hyphen there. And it needs to be, we'll pick a different color to make it easier to differentiate between the different sections. I'll pick blue. And then the color of the wording, I'll stick with white. Font size, we'll do 50 px, and text align, we'll put it in the center. So I'm going to save that, refresh the browser, and you can see it affect your section. So I'm going to do the aside and the footer next. Now for time purposes, I'm just going to highlight this and copy that. And paste it, and then just change the words or the tags to aside and footer, and then go and change these individually. However, like I mentioned before, I would suggest that you guys do it or write it all out, so it you remember it easier and you get more experience with actually using it. Oops. Cool. So we'll put it at 20. Cool. So you can see that. I'm just going to change this color real quick to say black. As you can see that each one of these each one of these corresponds to the tags in your HTML file, and they change depending on what you do to this. The reason that we used a different CSS file is because if you have more than one page, you can all link them to the same site CSS. So you can have 3 different pages or your whole website that is modified due to a single page, which is really nice instead of having to manually change something on 100 or so different pages. Another good reason for having a site.css is it lets your home page or whatever page you use load faster, and then because it's not clogged down with having it all in individual lines. So that concludes lesson 1 of how to code a website for beginners, which is creating HTML and CSS files. If you would like to watch the next lesson, it is how to code a website, which is working more with the layouts in CSS. Cool, well, I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.